Good morning, Metalheads Internet. Welcome to a new episode of the Metal Meltdown. And today, we're looking at the latest album from Thank You Scientist entitled Terraformer. This is the third studio album from New Jersey prog rock band Thank You Scientist, who I've heard a lot about over the years. They've done tours with Periphery, they've done tours with Coheed and Cambria. Heard a bit about this album as well beforehand, heard some of the promo singles and was really impressed, and was reminded of this album's actual release by a recent video on Banger TV where they reviewed Golden Grey from Baroness. And I decided that since there isn't a lot of other high-profile shit coming out at this moment, I would take a look at this fascinatingly weird prog record from this fascinatingly weird band. And believe me, I'm not exaggerating when I say fascinatingly weird. The album is incredibly colorful and eclectic and laden with hooks and wild, jazzy guitar sprawls. Weird beats and weird lyrics and weird vocals, weird influences embedded in between everything. The band are even pretty self-aware of how ostensibly strange they are, commenting that they feel that their music is, and I'm quoting directly here, a bunch of weirdos making music for weirdos that still care about weird music. But as I said, it's fascinatingly weird. It's always really exciting to see where Thank You Scientist goes across this record. What will they bring to the table next? What lies behind this riff, behind the next chorus, behind the next hook? And generally, what surprises does Thank You Scientist have up their sleeve? The sheer curiosity of the whole thing is enough to keep you glued to your headphones, but throw in the fact that it's an incredibly well articulated and composed modern prog record, and you've got an extremely exciting and endearing record. For the first few tracks of this record, you're just going to be knocked off your feet. The guitars are so over the top, the solos are so weird, the hooks are very simple, but they always grab you, they always reel you in. It's fantastical and wild and daring and spicy. It's a weird mixture of Mandroid Echo Star and intervals and Coheed and Cambria with the experimentation and free spirit of Diablo Swing Orchestra. Take for instance one of the opening tracks, FXMLDR, which immediately opens with weird, winding Protest the Hero style guitar riffs and sprawls coupled with horns and weird post-hardcore vocals. The guitar work is kind of frantic. The guitar work is weirdly very frantic and crazed, but it has this really jazzy kind of sensibility to it. And the chorus is great on here and the chorus is really cool on here too, because you have a very simple, sweet melody accelerated and emboldened by some insane guitar pyrotechnics. Or a song like Son of a Serpent, which expands on the symphonic rock influences with swelling strings and beautiful Latin brass and trumpets, ultimately creating a very complex soundscape that still really feels kind of accessible and even peaceful at times. That is up until a ripping guitar solo near the end of the track, where the band displays almost their full-blown neoclassical shit. I mean, they're harnessing some Yngwie Malmsteen nonsense near the end of this. Another track like Chromology also takes advantage of the jazz and symphonic influences with a mostly instrumental track that is dizzying and weird and captivating and has all the best essential elements of really a classic jazz record rather than a metal record. Not that I'm complaining, mind you, I love jazz, and it's a fantastic display of the incredible musicianship and songwriting here. And then there's one of my favorite tracks, Everyday Ghosts, which brings all of this together with a pretty basic post-hardcore bass, but expands it in so many different ways, creating a really cathartic hook with some really interesting, funky rhythm guitar parts interplaced throughout the track. It's tense, it's wild, it's unpredictable, it's such a weird little number. And that's without even mentioning stuff like Life of Vermin, which throws in even more Latin influence clashing with acoustic guitars and more guitar pyrotechnics. Or a track like Shatner's Lament, which is weirdly dreamy and harkens to adult contemporary music and even 1950s lounge music. The scale, the size, the vision of this record is remarkable. I gotta be honest, I was even sitting down for a couple of these tracks thinking, holy shit, I might have to give this record a 5 out of 5 as well. That would be the third record in 1 month. That's crazy. And I even went as far as to buy this record. It is shipping to my house as we speak. But near the end of the record, I realized that while I did not jump the gun on buying this record, and I recommend you do so, I did perhaps jump the gun on recommending that this album gets a 5 out of 5, or even a 4.5 out of 5. The score actually got bumped down quite a bit. Not because of anything within the music, not because of anything within the band's vision and songwriting and musicianship. Quite the opposite. They all do a fantastic job, and there's really nothing musically I would change about this. Instead, my issue stems from the album's length. This album is nearly 90 minutes long, and while the songs are incredibly versatile and entertaining, they do, after a while, kind of start to follow a certain pattern and flow, and nothing bleeds together, nothing feels the same, but you do kind of start to see the bells and whistles a little more. You do kind of start to see the man behind the cloth performing the illusion. It starts to lose some of its magic and unpredictability. Again, I want to reiterate, no one's fault. I still highly enjoyed the record, and I still highly recommend it. For that matter, if you're brand new to prog, I doubt you would even notice this, let alone be bothered by it. But it is something that I noticed as the record went on, and it did even somewhat bother me near the very end of the album, where I kind of started looking at my watch and went, all right, we need to wrap this up, boys. To put it in perspective, I could have listened to the new Panzerfaust record 4 times in its entirety in the time it would also take to listen to Terraformer. And considering that Panzerfaust record is itself also very bold, very experimental, and very large in scale, that's kind of a big issue. I will still give this a 4 out of 5. The incredible musicianship, the versatility within the songwriting and the performances, it's impossible to ignore. It's clear to me that this is the exact vision that Thank You Scientists had in mind for this album. I will not knock them for that. It's just that for me personally, that vision starts to wear a little thin within the album's very final moments. Again, it was kind of inevitable for me personally, considering it's 90 minutes long, and I do generally prefer my albums on the shorter side. But what are you going to do? It's prog rock, it's super well performed, it's super colorful, it's super lavish and weird and jazzy and funky. They did the best they could, and without going fucking stupid batshit crazy, I highly recommend this to anyone who would call themselves a prog nerd. If you're new to this genre, I would say give it a listen, but approach it with caution. I can definitely see this being a bit overwhelming, maybe too weird, maybe being too out there. And as a result, I can picture those issues that I talked about being even worse for some of you. So just approach it with patience. Maybe cut this album up into pieces if you have to. Throw some songs on a Spotify playlist, see how you feel after that. But do give it a shot nonetheless, because Thank You Scientists have created some really incredible shit here. Like, holy shit, if we're talking about just the musical palette and the performances of this record, it's not just a 5 out of 5, it's like a 10 out of 5. It's fucking insane. So congrats to Thank You Scientists. I look forward to hearing more of your music in the future. I especially look forward to getting that delicious fucking vinyl and hearing all of those horns and guitars and beautiful surround sound. 4 out of 5, a seriously great record, so long as you approach it with a bit of caution and patience. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? Thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe to get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.